Dismantling another piece of the Obama legacy. New at 5:30, President Trump is taking new steps to make good on two major campaign promises.
First, as seen live on CBS 3 today, President Trump announced he's decertifying the Iran nuclear deal, saying Iran is not in compliance and the move is in the best security interest of the U.S. The president says it's now up to Congress to decide whether to fix the deal. It's a deal he calls the worst ever.
In the event we are not able to reach a solution working with Congress and our allies, then the agreement will be terminated.
In addition to decertifying the deal, the U.S. issued new sanctions against Iran's Revolutionary Guard, which the White House says is a sponsor of terrorism. It places new sanctions on Iran's ballistic missile program. Congress has 60 days to decide whether to reinstitute new sanctions against Iran. Also today, the president defended his new executive order that rolls back part of the Affordable Care Act. This gives employers permission to seek out cheaper health insurance plans across state lines. The White House is also eliminating $7 billion in subsidy payments to insurers. That's money that helped keep premiums low for people enrolled in the ACA exchanges. Joining us now from Washington is CBS News Face the Nation host John Dickerson. John, good to see you.
Hey, Jessica.
You're going to have Secretary of State Rex Tillerson on this Sunday. This in light of all the stories we've heard about his relationship with the president, and also after the president announces his decision on the Iran deal. You think you guys will be discussing that?
We will be. So we got two main things on the plate. First is the Iran deal, but perhaps even ahead of that is the ongoing situation with North Korea, because, of course, that's an ongoing story. There was actually a major milestone this week, which was a missile test that didn't happen. There was an important anniversary in the North Korean history on this Monday, and usually they test something or do some kind of a display, and they didn't. The reason that's important is the U.S. has said, if you want to sit down and talk about these things, North Korea, stop doing these tests. So does the Secretary of State see that as a possible hopeful sign in what has otherwise been a race to the bottom in terms of the tough rhetoric and the threats of military action? Then, of course, we'll talk about Iran. And then, as you mentioned, there has been this reporting about the relationship between Rex Tillerson and the president. And certainly we'll want to talk about that. Mostly because we've also had a comment by the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about the president's ability to handle foreign crises. This is obviously very serious stuff, and his ability to work with his team is pretty much central to America's national security.
Yeah, no question about that. You're also going to have Senator Lindsey Graham on, and we heard about the executive order that the president put in place regarding the Affordable Care Act. Senator Graham tried with Graham Cassidy to come up with his own bill as an alternative. That didn't go anywhere. Will you guys be kind of tackling that as well?
We will. We'll have a number of issues we'll talk about with Lindsey Graham. You may remember he was obviously quite an opponent of the president's when they were candidates, and he's been a tough critic during his presidency, but now he's played golf with him this week and seems to be having a warming relationship with the president. So there are two domestic issues. Healthcare is one of them. The dismantling of the Affordable Care Act, what goes in its place? There are people who are going to lose insurance, have their premiums go up. So what's the solution? The Senate has been unable to pass two pieces of legislation. Then also he's been intimately involved in legislation to handle the so-called dreamers, those who were brought to the country when they were younger by their parents who are undocumented. And the president has had a couple of different positions on that. What does Lindsey Graham think about any legislation on that issue? And then we got a few other things to talk about with him, too.
You'll just be a little busy on Sunday, John. All right. Thanks so much. You can watch Face the Nation with John Dickerson Sunday morning at 10:30. It's right here on CBS 3.